Alright, we're back again. This is part 2 of the MongoDB Mongoose Express Node.js REST API series. So today we going to bootstrap our project and code our project and finish it and make sure that it is working perfectly as we wished before. Alright, so the first thing we have to make sure is that we have MongoDB server running in our system or in our remote server. So if MongoDB server is not running in your system, go ahead and type MongoD. Okay, we will actually be using authentication, which means we will authenticate the users before they can be able to access or do anything with the data in the database, which is a very good practice. And as you can see, the --db part is where our MongoDB files are going to be stored. So mine will be at users, open source live documents, and MongoDB data. So go ahead and do that, and then click enter, and then click enter. Doesn't click enter, so probably it's some problem. I don't know why it's really lazing around and stuff like that. Alright, luckily we have it running right here. Okay, so let's close the console and get back to the project. So let's look at the project structure. First of all, let's create our project. I will go to my documents, not apps and APIs. I'm going to create a project called Express Node.js Mongoose REST API. I know it's kind of long, so alright, I'll create that project. I'm going to open it up with my Vue.js. Sorry about it's just that I miss Vue. So I'm going to open it up with my Visual Studio Code. So I'll go ahead and click on open folder, and I'll go to documents. I remember well, it's on Node.js, not apps, APIs, and here is my. It's gonna open up as soon as possible. Alright, there it goes. So the next thing that we need to do is to create a folder name config. Okay, that is Express and models. So from the root of the folder we say Express, and from the root we say also models. Let's delete this one. Alright, config Express and models, and we also need routes. And lastly we need the env and app.js and the package. So we need the .env. We also need the app.js, and I think pretty now we have. So now we need the pack.js. So to make it simple, all we need to do is just invoke our terminal right here and use yarn to initialize our project. Okay, so we're going to type yarn init. If you are using npm, you can also go ahead and say npm init. It will ask you a question, as it asked me. It says the name of the project, that's the name of our project, the version, in the description. I'll just say Node.js Express MongoDB API. So it's a REST API, and then it says the entry point, it says it index. No, we're gonna make our app.js the entry point. The Git repository, we will put it later. The author is electrons, and then the license is, let's keep it default private. Let's just keep it default. And as you can see, now our package.json is initialized. As you can see, the name of the app, the version, the description of the app, and the main, which is the entry point of our application, which is the app.js, the author, and the license. So remember when we were talking about libraries, so we also need to install the libraries. So first we need Mongoose, and let's start at the bottom, LLG, Express, and .env. So we come here and say yarn add LLG .env Mongoose body parser chorus. What else? What are we missing? Express or and Express. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 libraries. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. We have 7. So Nodemon, we'll install Nodemon later on. So for now, let's just install this. So we let yarn install those libraries or those modules that we need to use in our application, right? All right. So remember when I was studying our MongoDB server, I used the out, the dash out. Okay, I'll get back to you again. So what is it saying? It says error occurred, Express, please, unexpected, HTTP body parser not found. Alright, I made some errors here. So we are humans, we are developers, we make errors. Kind of, this is bad body. Body with an R. Alright, I was talking about the dash out, so which will make us, you know, be able to make our queries to MongoDB server as authenticated users. It's very important to do that, because if you let your MongoDB server run unconfigured, you know, run free, and everyone can have access, it becomes a problem. So it's more like a security issue that we have to look at. All right, and as you can see, our MongoDB server is running, and as you can see, the ports, it's waiting for connection on port 2717. So which means now if you can just fire up, let me try and exit. It's not fired up. Okay, all right, now it's done, and as you can see, we have installed our libraries. They're just here. Okay, so now we need to install Nodemon. So I'll just say yarn add Nodemon, or I'll just say global, because it's supposed to be global. So I'll say yarn add global Nodemon. Alright, which will help us to, you know, not to rerun the server again once we make some changes. We will just save, and then it will automatically reload our server with the updated information or the updated data that we were editing. So let's let it run and get the module or the library. Another thing we'll need is right here I forgot, we need git ignore, so that if we happen to push this code to GitHub, it won't, you know, it won't upload or push the node module. So let's just say node module. So these are going to be ignored by Git, you know, when we are pushing to GitHub or GitLab or whatever versioning tool you are using. So all right, we also want to make sure that .env is not included. All right, so I think we're good now. So first thing we have to create our index or our db.js. all right, before we do that, we need our environment variables. So I already done that, so I'm just gonna copy this and I'll explain a bit by bit. all right, so let's save. So now we have our environmental variable. This is a db URL local, which is from the, we are trying to connect to MongoDB server from localhost. So as you can see, it's localhost. If you want, you can put 127.0.0.1, and this is the port, you know, where MongoDB is listening to. As you can see, it's waiting for connection to 27 or 17. And also, this is the name of the database that we are going to create, or the database that we are going to use. And right here is it's another parameter that we pass, which is an auth source. So it defines which user especially are we going to use to log in into the database, because we have explicitly emphasized on security, you know, from authentication. So it's an admin, and then the DB user is the admin, and this is our password, and this is our port, and the keep alive which is just true, and keep alive delay, these are the seconds, and the new URL parser. Recently MongoDB they said if you basically, it's the newer version of MongoDB where you have to use the new URL parser and set it to true, and also we use the unified topology, which is true. So now we are done with the environment variables, which is good. Now we have to get back to DB. all right, and DB, all right, DB. Okay, let me copy this. I just paste this. all right, I'll explain. First thing, we required .env. You remember we were installing .env on as a library, so we make sure that we require our .env so that we will be able to access our environment variables from here, from our code. So we say require .env, and then we config whatever we want to put under the config or the options. We can put options right here, but I choose not to put options. all right, and now we also required the Mongoose library, where we say we create a constant and call it Mongoose right here, as you can see. And also we created the options which are needed in order to connect to MongoDB or to our MongoDB server. So our options include the user, which is the process.env.db_user. So in order to access the environment variables from this side, for example db.user right here, so we need to use the process which is Mongo, or which is Node.js built in process. So because this is Node.js app, we use process dot and then environment. Automatically we get to know if I say process.env, because we have an env file here, and then we'll take the user and parse it here, and also the database and all the other things. So finally we connect to our MongoDB server online, so on our local host. So in order to connect to that, we will say Mongoose, which is our variables, our constant variables variable we created right here, and we say mongoose.connect, and we use the process.env again to get the DB URL remote. It's basically not remote, it's local. So we use that again and say DB URL and then local, and then we pass in the options right there. After that, we create our DB variable. So we say the var DB is the mongodb.connection. So what actually this is going to do, it will go ahead and connect to or check. It's basically a promise where we can just use then or on connected if we are connected, or if the connection fails. So this is just our connection. It will depend on if we are connected or not, basically, and then we can export the DB for global use in other applications. All right, so now that we are done with the DB .js, let's see what's next. All right, what's next is now we have to create Express. Under the Express folder, we have to create index.js. So under Express, yeah, I can't spell Express. So under the Express folder, we go ahead and create index.js. So all right, so inside index.js, so what we're gonna do, just comment this thing and also these things, and also comment this thing, right? All right, inside index.js, we initialize our Express, and require our Express, and we initialize our body parser and also our cores, and then we create a new app or app object of Express by saying var app is equal to Express, which is a class. We're initializing a new object of the Express class, and then we say Express or app.use the cores. So ignore everything to do with cores, and we'll make it easy for us to connect, because it may be problem with HTTPS and all those crazy things. You also use body parser, and we say JSON.join. So we also use the body parser URL encoded. We make it extended and to true, and finally we export our application. All right, next thing, we have to create our models, which is a custom model and product model. All right, so we come to models and we create customer.js, customer.js. All right, so as you can see our models, we be like that. Just copy that thing and just paste it here. So we import, or we require Mongoose. So right here we say customer models, and we say this is a customer, right? Customer model, export. Let's try to replace this thing. It's hard to start everything from scratch, So I'm gonna say customer. All right. All right. Now that we how really to create a customer model in MongoDB or in Mongoose. So we say customer model is equal to mongoose.model. So as I've told you when we were beginning this tutorial, we say mongoose is a model and base library for MongoDB. So we create a new customer right there, and we also export our customer variables or our customer object. Okay, all right. Right inside here, we have to now define our variables or define our attributes. All right, let's get back to the so now I just copy this. All right, I'll just copy that and paste it here. All right, so first we have the customer name, which is a string. All right, this is the data type of our attribute. We also have a last name, which is a string. We also have, let's just make it all string, right? Just to make it simple and finish, let's just make it all string, right? So we also have p address, and we set it to a string. We have the phone, we set it to a string. We also have our right date, so now it's gonna be different, right? So I'll create another object from here and say type and say date and say default date dot now. So this is going to be the default date. All right, so now we are done with our customer model. We exported our model. The next thing we need to create is our structure. The next thing is to create is our product model. So we just have to copy the same thing and create a file called product.js. all right, and we'll paste this here and just remove this. Instead of saying custom, say product, and we export our product model, and we also create product right here. And this small thing is crazy, so let's just match this thing and just say product. All right, and just yeah. All right, so now what's our product? We come back here and we just copy all this. We can't copy the ID because it's an auto increment. It will be auto generated, not auto increment. So right here we also put a string. So the quantity, let's just deal with string. We'll see other things later on. Alright, let's go ahead and format our code. I like it when it's like this. Okay, well formatted. So this is our product model. Alright, and what else do we need? Check your structure. We also need the routes. Now it's time to create the routes. Okay, before we create the routes, let's check on app.js and see what we can do. Alright, let's check on app.js. App.js. Let's paste this thing. So the first thing we are going to require Express. Oh, not Express. We're going to require LLG so that we can console when we're running this thing. When we're running the server, we also need to require our Express. Yeah, you know, right here, Express index, so we can initialize our Express and everything. Also need to require our DB, which is from the config.db, right? And we create a port. We say port is equal to 3000 or 5000. This is dummy. Let me just do 3000. All right. So this is how we check if you have connected to MongoDB. So we are going to use the DB here, the variables here, the one we exported from the DB, this one, which contains the connection, you know. We will say db.on error. If we have an error, we're gonna print out a connection error, and once the database is opened, we go ahead and create and console the connected to database, and then we go ahead and listen to our port and start the server at port 3000. So let's try this. Let's run nodemon. Alright, nodemon is trying to connect. Alright, let's see. Nodemon started watching Doras, starting node app.js and listening to. Alright, we are connected to the server right now. So alright, let's go ahead and server app. I just wanted to make sure that we are connected to a server and everything is okay, right? So let me just close anything. So we'll leave with this one. Alright, now the next thing, sorry about that. Now the next thing is to create the customer route and the product route. So we'll come to our routes and say customer route.js and also a product route.js. All right, so let's start with the customer. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna take some code I've made right here. This is just a user route or something, but I'll explain bit by bit. All right, don't worry about that. All right, just leave it here now, right here. Okay, first thing, we import our express, or we require express, and we also create a new object from the express router. Yeah, that's cool, where we'll be able to create the routes. Remember, we said we going to create routes for example slash users, we get the users, slash users slash username, we get the users by username or the customer by username. So first thing, we need to import or require the user model, the customer model. So we say customer, and then right here we put the customer model, customer.js. This is actually the model that we are referencing. All right, so we call it this customer model. So the next thing is we that we define our home, which means when we say get .home, this is where we're gonna get. So we get the users from the database and output the database. So let me just uncomment this thing. I'll explain. So the first thing, we have to create a try, because this is more like a promise, is an async function, and so we need to also await it. So there might be an error, or whatever error there might be, a connection error to the database. So we need to create a try catch so that our code or our server or our application doesn't break. So alright, so we say router.get, which is the slash means it's the home route for the customers, and we say async function. We create an asynchronous function with a request and response. All right, so if you are getting something from the server, we will be using or if you are issuing something to the client, we're just gonna say REST. So we go ahead and define a variable called result, and we await our customer model, and then we say .find. If you know MongoDB very well, there's a method called found. So now we have wrapped our MongoDB and JavaScript into one. So now they understand each other. If I use the model, the customer model, it means now I'm executing like I'm in a MongoDB shell or MongoDB server or something. So I say find and execute, and this is gonna bring me the result if they are users. So this is probably gonna select all the users that we, or I'm sorry, all the customers that we have in the database, and it's gonna bring them to us. So we say customers list, and then what will happen is we will respond.send. We will send the results to our client or to our API, or catch the error and send a 500 and send the error. Alright, so now let's go ahead and test the application. In order to test the application, we go back to our index under Express, alright, and register our customer route, and register our customer route by saying use, and then I'm just gonna say version 1, and then I'm just gonna say customer. Alright, and now we registered our customer. So it's more like a customer route. So we have to import the route. So the route is from customer route.js, and right here we have to register our route. So it's a customer route.js. So now if you save, and you see the server will restart. Okay, let me just copy this. So now if you go to your, let's just open Insomnia. Alright, let's open up Insomnia. Let's open up Insomnia. Hey, it's a bit slow, but let's try. Taking a bit of time. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create a new request. We call it customers. Alright, with a get, and let's go ahead and say HTTP. We say localhost, and we'll put the port you're listening to, which is 3000, right? So we put 3000 and then slash v1 API customer. So now we can just get our customers, and you can see here it said the request was successfully, and we have nothing. We don't have a customer, right? Which is pretty good. Now as you can see from the console too, it says customer list is empty. So this is where I outputted this. Alright, so now let's define our customer post. Let's define our customer post. Let me just do this thing. So whatever anything says user, I'm gonna explicitly rename it with customer. Rename it with customer, so we work fine. So just okay. So some housekeeping, man. Oh damn. Alright, let me just copy the model, just paste it here, and probably have to say customer model. Alright, so Alright, so we define our customer port route. So in our customer port route, this is a get method. We get the user right here. We say get and we get nothing. And this is a post where we want to insert the new user into the database. So what we're gonna do is a post, which is the same route. We will just have to change here and say post, the same route. And then we have to pass in the parameters for that for a new user. So we say for a new customer, so we say customer is equal new customer, and then we take the body, the request body, which will be passed when we are making or when we are initiating our API request or post request, and then we say result will be equal to await, because this is an asynchronous function, and await the customer, and then we save that new customer that we have, that we got from the customer model. So what will happen is the request.body will contain the list of the objects of customers, or the object of a single customer, and it will pass it into the customer model. So and then we will use the customer model to save that data into our MongoDB database. Alright, and then we will just issue a new message that a new customer has been added, and we will respond back to our user or to our client with the results that we got. If we had an error, then we'll have an error back. Alright, so now let's just try and make a post request to a server. First of all, we have to check at the customer, how's the customer data structured. So probably we have a first name. So what we're gonna do, we come to the body and say form URL encoded, and we will say f name, so say Luna, and L name, this is the customer model, Dava. So also come to edge, I'll just say 21, and also email. So note that we can do this from our client application. For example, we can create a Vue.js application or a React.js application and consume this API for anything that is a client application. We can do that, but now we have to test it using Insomas to see if it's working, and then we can start creating our application, our front-end application. So I have email OP address, so it's gonna be Guyane, and we also have phone. We have 7866741, and that's the date. It has a default. It got a default, so we will not put that in here. So let's just try and send our request. Awesome. As you can see here, the request that the pause request we made was successfully, and we had our object back that we created with the rack date that is auto generated, and our ID and everything right here. And as you can see right here, we also have the data coming up here. Alright, which is pretty much good. The next thing we have to do, okay, now we are able to make a get request of our users, and we are also able to make a post request of a new user or a new customer to the database. So the next thing is to query a single user from the database. Alright, so sorry, I'm opening the wrong tab. So in order to do that, let's just undo this thing. So we will have to get the customer by ID. So what really means is, now that we have this user, we need to get now that we have this customer, we want to get the customer using this specific ID. Alright, so which is unique. We're just getting one user, or a unique I'm sorry, this user thing, a unique customer. Alright, so what we need to do now is just say router.get and then slash, which is basically it's gonna be, you know, the customer, right, like this. And we will say this colon id, which stands for the parameter that we're going to pass, and we're gonna use the request.parameter keyword. You know, when we want to get a specific parameter, we will just say request.parameter. But if you want to get everything from our request, we will say the body, you know, because we needed everything that was on the post method or that was on the request. So that's why I put body. But now we need specific data, and we have to pass that params, requested params. But it's good if we destructure it first instead of just saying requested params right here. Let's just say id. Okay, I hope you know what it means to destructure in JavaScript. You know, int list. What will actually happen is that this statement means we're taking from the ID. We're taking ID from request.params instead of just saying, you know, like this. So we're just getting the ID. This is an object, so we're destructuring it. All right. So we're gonna say await, because this is an asynchronous function. We're going to say customer model dot find by ID, which means we are actually trying to find a customer by a specific ID in the database, and we're going to execute, and we're going to store that result into a customer, and then we're going to push that customer that we got from the database into our terminal, into our console, and then we're going to send a response back to the server or back to the client, a response of that customer that we were able to get. If we were not able to get a customer, then we will just get an empty response from the database. And then if we happen to have an error, we're going to return an error to the client. Okay, so now that we have at least one customer in the database, it's good if we have two, so that we can see the difference. All right, but let us test. If I copy this user ID or this customer ID and paste it from here and change my method into a get, because this is a get method, we're actually getting one. So it will say customer with ID, so we are able to find that customer. All right, so let's add more customers. Let me just add another customer. Let's say this customer is 24 or 23. I'll say at gmail.com. And I'll just say blah blah. Yeah, so all right, let's post the new customer, and now we have that customer. All right, so let's try and get the customers. We have two customers right now. Let's try and search the second customer that we created. Only the second customer, you know, that we added. So we're gonna push this and copy and paste the ID and just say get. Now we will have our unique customer right here. All right, so let's try now and move faster and faster. So what if we want to get a customer by email? All right, we will. So what if you want to get a customer by email, so, or by name? So we get the customer by name. So we say here f name. We're getting the customer by first name. So all right, so it's just simple as that. You just change from here. This is just customer, and instead of saying, I will say name. All right, so we have to say f name, and we also destructure the data, and we get the request, and we get the data that we got from that customer, or from the server, or from the front end, and we create a new customer. I wait a new customer, we find where fname dot all, and then the data is the one that we pass to the parameter, which is the fname, right? So where all of those are like this, and then we do the same thing. So now if we try to search by, so all we need to do here is just say fname and say bash, okay, and try and connect to the server. It will give me where the fname is bash. So what if I change it to Luma? It will give me Luma, which is pretty good, right? So finally we're going to send to search the customer by email too. You can search it with whatever you want. All right, it's the same thing. So now we want to edit the customer, right? In order to edit the customer, we will have to find the customer that we want to edit first by ID, and then we have to pass the param right back into this query, which means the ID, it's finding the ID in the database that matches this ID, and it will execute. And then once it finds the ID that is equal to the ID in the data, this is the ID in the database, this is the ID that the user has provided in the in the front end, or when trying to consume the API. And we will have our customer and set the request, the body into a request body, because we will have as much as customer details that the user is trying to edit. For example, they're trying to edit the first name, the last name, or even trying to edit the physical address, or whatever, the phone. Or so now after that, we will store that result in a customer, or in a result variables, where that will come from the server if we serve a new customer, and the result that we store from after serving the customer to a server, we send it back to the client. And once again, if we have an error, we will notify the user that we have the error. So now let's try edit this person. So I'm gonna wrap this thing up, like, let me try and just edit the edge. So it's the same thing, but then what differs is now I'm sending a put request, so a put, which is an update. So I'm sending it back. I'm saying it's 26. I'm sending it back to the server, and it gives me an error because I didn't say which customer I'm editing. So all I needed was just to push the customer ID right here and send. Alright, now it shows that the edge now changed. We have edited the edge or updated the edge to 26, which is pretty good. And also, last but not least, deleting. Deleting is like this. We also do the same housekeeping thing. We have to get the ID from the parameter, right, and execute a method called delete one. Okay, so if you want to know more about this method, delete one, all the methods or the queries that are used by Mongoose or MongoDB, just go check on Mongoose, and they will show you how to do it. But this is how you delete. You say delete one because you want to delete one. But if I didn't want to delete one, I could have said just delete. And even right here, I'll say find one. I can even find one, or delete many, or all those kind of stuff. And same housekeeping, we just send the result back to our client, and also we catch possible errors that we had. All right, now let's delete let's try and delete the user. So all we just need to do is just put the delete and then you put the user there and then you send it, and it will tell that the user has been deleted. So if you try and get the user back, it will say nobody returned for the response. And if you try to get our customers back, it will just show only one customer, right? Which is really awesome. And then we remember we exported the route, and then we exported the route, and that's why we're able to use it right here. So good. I think now we are pretty much done. So let's go ahead and replicate everything and try to replicate a product, right? And try and replicate a product. So what we're gonna do is just copy the customer route file. Just Control A and Control C on Windows, and go to the product. Okay, and paste it right there. So to make it simple, so what I'm gonna do is just press some F, and I'm just gonna set all the customer model, which means everything, and I'm gonna replace it with product model. Now it's a rush, you know, it's the same thing though. Alright, and also anything that says customer, I'm gonna replace it with product, and use regular expression, and I'm gonna with product. Alright, so let's just wrap, and as you can see, we have our product model from product, and the routes are almost the same. Products list and new product and everything, it will work the same. But now the difference is it comes to the product by, so we will need, there's no product name F name, so just go and check product by quantity or by name or by price, by name or by price. So let's get the product by name, you know, so where name, just like that. And let's get the product by price, by selling price. Alright, so right here we say S price, right? And then we just say small housekeeping by S price, and also by S price, and by name. Alright, cool. So if you save that, this it's more like exactly the same thing that we were doing with our customer route. Alright, so we exported our customer our product route. Cool, which is pretty good. Just save and go ahead to the index and import those route. I'm just copy this thing, and I'm just gonna say product route, so it's coming from product route. Alright, so right here I'm just gonna, so I want to say just register the route. I'm just come here and say product route, and instead I'll say product. Alright, so now we have our route. Let's refresh, and connected. Let's create a new request, right? I'll call it product. Let's get. I'm just gonna copy this, you know, paste it right here, and instead of customer I'll say product, and I'll send. and we're getting product list is empty, remember. So now let's do a post method on our product. So I'll say form URL encoded. Let's go check our model so that we are on the same page. So it's probably the name. So I like milk, like soya, you know. Oh, wrong type, eh? So it's milk, and we need a quantity. We have milk, and it's 100. We have a lot of milk. That's before. That's before we say like 2020 0101 B price. So we bought this milk by 3,000 bucks. Selling price, we will sell this like each milk at 12.79. So we'll sell it for 18.50, and that's it. So now what I need to do is just push this thing and say post, and now we got our product. So if I go back and say get, and that's it. So I can change here and say 450 and say oranges. Maybe we're selling oranges, and I'll just say 5, and I put the oranges at $1, and we're gonna sell it at $1.50. So let's say 80 bucks or 0.80, 80 cents, and let's try and send a new post request to the server. It's just kaboom. So if try and get, all right. So now let's get by, what was the route? So product route. Let's try get by S price. All right. So let's try get by S price, where the S price is 150. So let's try and get that. Yeah, it's working. And also let's try and delete. Oh no, let's update first. In order to update, I'll change it and say put, and I'll close everything besides the quantity. So I'll just send, and here it's 670, and also I'll try and delete it and send, deleted. And if I go back and do a get again from our product, for products and send, we will have one product, which is pretty much fine. All right, so now that we have all of this running, and I think now we are probably done. If you go back to your Mongoose or to your Mongo canvas to check this data, you can now be able to see that we have a customer model, or a customer and a product. So let me just show you. Let me load it. Actually, this video took a long time. It took almost an hour, or an hour recording, which is pretty much fine because we have done a lot of things. All right, let's check MongoDB canvas and check if the database that we have is really what we were working on. And yeah, now you know how easy it is to create a Mongoose and Node.js Express REST API. It's very simple. This is part 2 of the Mongoose Node.js Express API series. On the next series, I'm hoping that we are going to see how we can deploy our API to, you know, and to a server and be able to use it, and maybe with DigitalOcean as a backend for, or as a VPS for the, for MongoDB, like create an instance of MongoDB on DigitalOcean and be able to consume that kind of data through our API. Okay, so now let's connect. So localhost, and let's set the authentication to true, or to username and password. My username is admin, as you have seen, and the password is admin123, and now we can connect. Alright, so it's loading. Alright, so now you see we have the API, we have the customers, and we have the product. Okay, so if you get back here, let me show you this. So you see here, it's a product. It created this product collection automatically, which is pretty much good. Okay, that's really good. And we have one customer in our server, in our MongoDB server. So let's run. So yeah, we have one customer in our MongoDB server, which is long. So even if I come right here and to Insomnia and try and get, the data, you can see that this is the same user, or the same customer that we have. So yeah, it's been a while, it's been long, we've been coding, and thank you so much for watching this video. And you can check up the Git repository I included in the video description, where you can check the code and try and implement your own Express Node.js Mongoose REST API, and add more of your models and add more of your routes, and create the whole system with this. So in the next video, we're going to focus on deploying our API, our Express Node.js Mongoose REST API to Heroku, and having our database or our MongoDB server on DigitalOcean, which is pretty much awesome.